Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Emma LaFave, and today I'm going to show you how to paint this relaxing, misty winter forest scene. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, so today I wanted to paint something for myself. This is part of my finding the joy in watercolor again, and I think I feel just so much pressure to create what I'm hoping everyone else likes that I start to forget what I really enjoy painting. And one of those things is trees. And so today I wanted to do a piece where I could just like relax and just paint trees. And I love painting pine trees. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. And I feel also always so rushed with my paintings. So I'm going to explain how I do it for the first half, and then I'm just going to keep the video going and I'll put some nice music so you guys can just watch my process of finishing the painting without feeling like I have to rush and make this a quick video. You can just enjoy the second half of it and watch me paint. So today I'm painting on a block of Saunders Waterford watercolor paper, and I just taped it down with painter's tape just so I can get a nice border, but you don't have to if it's on a block. Then I have my Winsor Newton paints here, but I'm just going to be using one color, I think. You guys saw my video last week where I used just one color, and it's a really great skill to kind of develop learning how to use different values within one painting. So this is going to be very similar to that. And I'm just going to kind of show you a couple other techniques. And then I have my brushes here. I have a size 12, 6, and 2. These are kind of my go-to essential brushes, and I think we're ready to go. Okay, so I'm actually going to start by wetting the whole paper. So if you actually want to grab a bigger brush to do that, you can. I'll just grab my flat wash brush here that I have, and I'm just going to make sure it's nice and wet, and I'm going to wet the whole paper because we're going to start off with some wet on wet trees that are kind of blurred out in the background. So I'm just making the paper nice and wet, and the amount of water that you need on your paper, or the ideal amount, is that where the whole paper is kind of glistening, it has this sheen to it, but it's not dripping wet, where if you're to tilt to the side, it's going to just like fall off the page. So I'll show you what I mean by that sheen. So if you tilt your paper, I don't know if you can see it on camera, you get this shine. Okay, and that also helps you see where there are any dry spots. Like I noticed it's dry a bit down here. And so I'm just moving that water around, but I'm also making sure there's no water just dripping off the page, okay? Then I'm going to take I think my size 12. Ooh, I should have wet up my paint first. I'm going to use my perylene green, which is one of my favorite colors. And I'm just going to use a light wash, and I'm going to go over the whole thing, because when I take this tape off, I want a bit of a border. Actually, I should probably use my flat wash for this. Okay. And I'm just going to go back and forth, making it kind of even. Just dropping this color all over, just so it's very, very light, just so that when we take off that tape, you have a nice border for the sky at least, okay? Maybe I'll go back and forth like this. Okay, and then while it's still wet, I'm going to grab my size 12 and more color, and I'm just going to put some trees kind of in a line back here. And while doing this wet, what this achieves is these blurred out kind of tree lines. Okay, now I know that looks kind of crazy. But you're just going to do these like vertical lines like so, and see how they kind of blur out. They're like kind of fuzzy looking. I'm going to wash off my brush, and then I'm just going to kind of blend out the bottom here. I washed it off and then I dried it a bit. Okay, and it's going to blend out. I'm actually going to grab my size 6 just so I can make these a little bit thinner, some of these trees. So you're going to do like little vertical lines, and then you can like kind of tap side to side so it looks like they're trees. So a little vertical line like this, and then tap side to side so it looks like there's some branches. Okay, you're not even really doing a full tree or anything. This is just for the background. We're going to be putting some trees in front of this. So I'm just kind of doing these vertical lines and then tapping side to side. We want that thin line close to the top of the trees. Okay, and it's just going to blend out to a lighter value going down. Just going to try and blend it down. Didn't want it too dark there, but that's okay. And then hoping that this is still wet. Now I'm just going to wet up my brush, but not a lot. I'm dabbing it on my paper towel. Just going to try and make sure down here is still wet because I want to do another kind of round of trees. So I'm just making sure this is still wet. Then I'm going to do another round kind of like that, mostly coming from this side though. So again, those vertical lines. And it's going to dry a bit lighter. And tapping side to side a bit. Of course, my dog's going crazy. There's someone at the door. Okay. I'm just going to wash off my brush a bit, tap it on my paper towel, and just kind of blend this out a bit so it fades to a lighter color. Okay, and with this part, you kind of have to move a little bit fast while you're doing the wet on wet, just so it doesn't dry. Because once it dries and you're doing wet on dry, you get more defined, structured lines. And we want this to be blurred out in the background. We want it to look like it's kind of like, you know, just misty. Maybe we can even do another little round here if you want. Just tapping side to side, really not even making specific tree shapes. Like so. Okay, then I wash and dry off my brush and I'm just blending out that bottom a bit, just dragging it across and down. Okay, and then you're going to wait for this to fully dry. Okay, and then once it's dry, we are going to do some more structured trees on top of these blurred out ones. So this is meant to look like it's further away in the background, that it's kind of misty. And then we're going to have the more detailed ones in the front, but we're still going to keep them a lighter wash because we want them to look like they're in the distance as well. Things that are usually further away are lighter in value, and the things that are closer up tend to be darker in value. So I'm just taking some, like a medium wash of my perylene green, and that might even be too dark. And I'm just doing, again, a vertical line. This is how I do my trees. And then just kind of tapping side to side. Like, it does not have to be super detailed, but you don't want it to be too, you know, symmetrical. You want them to be kind of like off-centered a little bit. You want them to look a little bit more realistic. So trees aren't perfect, okay? So you just want to have them looking a little less symmetrical. So I start with that line kind of going down, and then I just do these like little dabs kind of going back and forth, leave some gaps in between of the branches like that. And then just to blend out the bottom, when I'm done the tree, I'm just washing my brush off, dabbing it on my paper towel a bit, and then just kind of blending it down just so it blurs out. Okay. Now I know this isn't super dark or anything, so you don't see it too much. I probably actually should have gone lighter with my first layer with these blurred out trees, but it's fine. Still, this is meant to be kind of like a relaxing piece to do, and just take your time painting the same thing over and over again. There's kind of like a nice feel to just doing little bits of detail nice and quietly, and just not worrying about anything else. Just focus on doing your trees, wash off your brush, dry it a bit, blend out the bottom. Okay, and we're going to do some going all the way across. So I'm going to put some music on for this part so you guys don't have to, just sit through it. I might speed it up just a little bit, and then we will go to the next part. So once I was finished with those 3 sections, I decided to let it completely dry, and then I decided to do one more section in the foreground. Now looking back at this, I feel like I should have made these trees in the foreground a bit bigger to make the perspective make a little bit more sense, so don't come at me for that. But this was also just a painting where I could just practice my trees and relax. So obviously with this section, I didn't have those blurred out trees in a section behind these, and they're just kind of standing on their own. So I decided to make them a little bit bigger and a little bit more defined and just kind of have fun with it. So this is going to be like the first layer, and then you'll see I go back and do some darker ones, well, even darker ones in the foreground. So I wanted to have a couple of more detailed layers in the foreground. So this is kind of it. Again, I'll just put on some music. When doing a painting like this, just take your time. Don't worry about, the shapes too much. Don't try and make them symmetrical. You want them to have that kind of asymmetrical, uneven, bare kind of vibe in your trees, because not all the trees are perfect and you want them to look different. You don't want them to look all the same. And then blending them out at the bottom when they're still wet is key to kind of having that beautiful soft gradient. And just take your time and have fun with it. So that's about it for this painting. Again, I will just leave some music just while I finish it. And if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.